You know, poets back in the Romantic era were rock stars. Poets were fierce back then. They were really ferocious. And I thought Oscar needed this wild energy, sort of a poet, scientist, artist, rock star energy, that people would go to his lectures and applaud him and swoon. And, you know, and Oscar has all those things in him. Rebecca is the idea of somebody trapped in luxury, which is very common to Gothic literature. So people marrying somebody of wealth with a dark secret. The house is a character, the secret of the past, and I think it's seminal into creating Hitchcock as an export, because he was known as a very brilliant and quirky British filmmaker, and Rebecca brought him to America. And I think he took everything he learned on Rebecca, and curiously enough, he used it later on Notorious. Took everything he learned, including little quirks like introducing Cary Grant from behind without seeing his face in a very famous long shot. One of the great melodramas wrapped in a Gothic spy thriller. Hitchcock's melodramatic power is not discussed enough. He was a master of three things: comedy, thrillers, and melodramas. And thrillers and melodramas both have one recourse in common: hide information. Meaning, he doesn't know he is his son. He doesn't know she's in love with him, but the audience knows. So suspense and melodrama need the audience to be ahead of the characters. Don't go in that room. There's a bomb under the table. You know, things they don't know. And he's a master. I think that Hitchcock's melodramatic streak is underrated. Rebecca is a key film on his career and life.
It also co-stars Laurence Olivier, who is also the lead of another film you picked, Wuthering Heights.
Yeah. Olivier has all the restraint and mystery and sort of a rage internally. I like him in Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights was very important for me because it's the first film I ever saw in a theater as a kid. My mother took me to a revival theater, and I remember being scared and entranced and enthralled by the atmosphere, and because ultimately it is sort of a ghost story. And I remember as a child I was so scared, and then I fell asleep on my mother's lap, and then I woke up and the Gothic was still going on. The passion is very irrational and is very, very tormented. The characters are very interesting because they respond to sort of the pulse of the irrational. A large impulse in the Romantic movement. The Romantic movement comes sort of between wars, Napoleonic Wars, French Revolution. It's a response to the age of reason in many ways, and trying to enthrone instinct and emotion over science and reason. Wuthering Heights is an example of that irrational, compulsive passion.
Jacob Elordi is Heathcliff in an upcoming film. Could you speak about his range where he can play the creature but also these romantic leads?
When I talked to Jacob, I saw innocence and purity and sort of vulnerability in his eyes, but I also saw rage. Saw little flashes that I liked on Priscilla. And I thought that's perfect because the creature should be able to go from being a baby almost to being a destructive force. One of the things that will surprise people is that range. Jacob is a great actor. One of the best actors I've ever worked with. This is a dream cast. He came in as a blessing. We had to cast him 9 weeks before production started. It took one Zoom call between us. And I texted Oscar and I said, we found him. Dragon Week, not many people know it, or is not as celebrated as other Gothics, but is to me one of the great ones because it also poses a question of class. Class is always at the root of Gothic. Vincent Price was a perfect Gothic hero. He was born to play Roderick Usher. You know, he was born to be in all the Corman films as a tortured Gothic romantic hero. Dragon Week was a huge influence on Crimson, and Crimson Peak is a rehearsal for Frankenstein. I tried a lot of the things that I'm using on Frankenstein. I tried first on Crimson Peak.
Dragon Wick. Hopefully we're going to get it on more Letterboxd watch lists.
Yeah. Please do. Please watch it.
And speaking of underseen, Uncle Silas only has about 480 watches on Letterboxd.
It's an incredible movie. It's based on one of my favorite books written by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, one of the great writers of Gothic and ghost stories. I recommend all his ghost stories, but Uncle Silas is exactly a Gothic. It's astoundingly well designed. I'm so obsessed with this movie that I own some of the pre-production art from the production designer. And it was a big influence on both Crimson Peak and on Frankenstein, because the set design is astounding, and the framing and the chiaroscuro and the cinematography ahead of its time in a way, and stylistically is very mannered. If you are curious about another version of the same novel, there's a very, very peculiar but very interesting version of it called The Dark Angel. I would kill to do my own version of the book. The book is very scary, and there's no supernatural elements, but there is an uncanny sense of evil. One of the purest Gothics you're going to find. All the trappings are there, and both story-wise and visual. I personally recommend it, which will either make you go seek for it or run away.